Good afternoon, folks. I'm having an amazing time with my dot sight from TTArtisan. They sent me it last year to do a review, and I've only just got around to making some use of it because the opportunity has presented itself. Now, what I'm using it for is to get sand martins in flight. Now, if you can see it, I'll overlay this. They're flying around here like flies around the outflow at Cross Ness, which is providing some great photographic opportunities. I'm having to work in between clouds. If the clouds are out, I've got to go 3200th shutter speed and 3200 ISO because it's so dark. But when I do get a burst of blue sky, which is coming up soon, I can go down to 12 to 1600 ISO. At first, when I got here, I was taking them just with the camera, looking through the viewfinder. Every time one would fly and I'd see it coming in, I'd point my lens at it, 800mm. It was gone by the time I'd point my lens at it. I couldn't keep track of where it was going. And as I was working away, trying to get, and I was getting some. The hit rate was very, very low. But as I was working away, I thought, if only there was a way, and I said that sentence and caught myself and went, duh, you've got your Artisan dot sight in your bag. Perfect, this is the perfect opportunity. Obviously, it doesn't work for every opportunity. You need birds kind of going past in the same spot and for you to set up your camera and move around with them. So just a reminder of how it works. When you look through your viewfinder, you can focus, see where the target is, get it in the frame, and control everything. With the dot sight, it's fully manual. You can only press the shutter button and you have to rely on the photo being taken and you getting the shot, but you have to do a couple of things in advance to get yourself ready. How it works is it fires a dot out. You have to set the camera up so what the viewfinder is seeing in the middle of the frame is lined up with the dot in the Artisan sight. So basically, you're not looking through the viewfinder, you're looking through the dot sight. You're looking at the dot. The dot is seeing what the lens sees. You understand that? What that does is it means you can have your peripheral vision out to see what's flying in. Because when you've got it up against the viewfinder, you can only see what's in the lens, okay? With the dot sight, everything. So what you can do is you can see a bird come in and it's like Space Invaders or some sort of 80s arcade game when you point the dot and you fire. Now, when I was not using the dot sight before, I would find the camera hunting a lot. So what I had to do when I was using the dot sight is when I got the bird in the dot is not to take the picture straight away, is just pump the shutter button a couple of times to make sure that the camera was focusing on the bird. Now you can set your camera to only fire shots off when something is in focus, and that saves you going through all of these and deleting them. I'm going to have to delete loads anyway because some didn't catch. The camera must have just taken the picture as it moved out of focus, whatever, because that's how the servo works. I've got the R7, maybe more expensive cameras, the R5 and the R6 and all those ones can do much, much better. But I've got the lower end because that's all I can afford and I have to make do. I have to work with what I got, like a lot of us do. That's only an excuse. A good workman never blames his tools, okay? What I did is I clocked what number file was before I started using the dot sight, so I know if I got more hits after that, and I have been. I've been going through them. Obviously, as you see, I've been laying over the top all the great shots I've been getting. So I'm going to stay here for it because it's a great opportunity. And what I'm waiting for are the sand martins to come in closer, because obviously if they're distant, I've got to crop a lot. And in this case, with such small birds, I don't have to worry about the lens being so far out. Therefore, I'm not going to cut wings off. They're so distant that it doesn't matter. And still in clouds, so it's going to be a bit grainy because high ISO in clouds, but it gives me great practice. If you find yourself in these scenarios a lot, then you should get one of these dot sights. Absolutely brilliant, just unbelievable. Like I say, would I be using it more often? Yeah, but I don't get these kind of opportunities. I've just wandered down here on a random day and thought, oh, great, sand martins are out, flight shot practice, let's do it. Okay, let's get back to it and I'll show you what I got in about half an hour. Well, that was what they called a target-rich environment in Top Gun. It's so much fun. I can't wait to get back here and do it again. I had 3 different types of birds to come and photograph. I didn't realize what I was doing was working on the sand martin for a while. So as you can see, my hit rate was really good. I'm overlaying what I did get. I never got any amazingly close. Most of the time it looked like this gray weather So everything was up at high ISO, nothing's going to be really sharp. Occasionally a bit of blue sky came out and we got a bit of sharpness. Definitely going to come back on another day. I think there's going to be some sunnier days this week, but that was way too much fun. But when it did get a bit too dark, 4 or 5 cormorants ended up coming out to the outflow on the left. And I started working on them because I could work on a slower shutter speed. They weren't flying, but I've always wanted to do this. Use the dot sight to catch them getting fish, because you get 1 to 2 seconds if you're lucky. You've got to scan the area for the birds with the camera down, wait for one to come up with a fish, get it up, get the camera lens onto the bird if you can find it, and then hope it's still in the beak before you press the shutter button. No chance. You get 1 to 2 seconds. Usually I come away from those sort of days with 1 to 2 photos of birds with fish. Look at this. I must have got 10 to 15 usable shots. I've never ever got that good a hit rate, except with this dot sight is unbelievable. And you can hear the common terns. The common terns have showed up as well. They're going around. I'll show you this one photo, sort of the better one. I'll have to crop in a bit, but it pulled up a little tiddler. Now what I was doing was, while I was watching the cormorants, I just heard the splash and I was able to use a dot sight to get on it just momentarily. But it's a case of the sand martins are still going around now, the cormorants are still hunting, and the terns are going around. So all 3 birds require the dot sight for the best photos. But the light, look, the light's completely gone. I'm needing to work at like 6400 ISO. There's no point. I've worked a couple of hours on this. What I will say, luckily I had the tripod, because what I can do is loosen up the gimbal so I can, yep, there we go. So it's, yeah, I can move it everywhere because your arms will be toast otherwise. So the gimbal, yeah, that was perfect. They're still coming up with fish. And what I suggest is when you get the dot on the bird, pump the focus, because you don't know if you're in focus or not. Like I said, you're not looking through the viewfinder, so you have no idea if the camera focused. And often I'll go to review the photos. Look, everything's blurry. It missed the bird completely. So what I would do, I try and get into the habit of focusing on one bird, looking through, making sure I've left it in that plane of focus. So when a bird does come up, the camera doesn't hunt around too much. There's a lot of playing around with it, even knowing, oh yeah, I've got to get the green dot on the bird to take the actual photo. So yeah, it just takes a lot of getting used to getting that green dot on the bird. A little surprise visitor. For a moment, the cormorants took off. There was a panic. Now that's a good sign. You should always pay attention to that. Other birds that do this kind of worried or fear or scared call or panic, look, see what they're running from, flying from, swimming away from. It's often something scared them, a predator of some kind. I looked out and there was a seal. I think it's a harbour seal, not the big grey seal. Hang on, I'm trying to think back. Actually, I think it is a grey seal. Anyway, you're over the top. I'll just put it below when I put the footage up because I can't remember. It's easy to tell with the seals. If they've got the really long snout, then it's the grey seal, but it was looking straight at me. So off the top of my head, I can't remember. But what a great little day. You come out and there's not much going on, and it's great photography opportunities if you've got the equipment. So I hope you enjoyed that. Well, you don't need a dot sight for everything, but if you're going to come to a place like this, a hide, and there's birds shooting around, a dot sight is perfect for that sort of thing, especially things like kingfishers where they appear out of nowhere. Okay, hope you enjoyed.